Welcome back to the Deep Dives. Today, we're digging into a bunch of sources you sent us about the, let's say, the sharp end of cultivation standards. We're focusing specifically on how high-value crops are moving towards something called integrated plant protection, or IPP. And our focus for this dive is what the sources are calling the grower's choice approach.
That's right. And look, our mission today is really to give you the shortcut. To cut through all the noise and the marketing claims. We want to understand the actual mechanics, how are modern growers hitting that gold standard, a guaranteed residue-free product. And achieving that, well, it really hinges on understanding this big philosophical shift, moving away from just reacting with chemicals towards preventing problems with non-toxic methods.
Yeah, that distinction seems critical. Because IPP, it sounds a lot like the older integrated pest management, IPM.
Yeah.
People might think confused. So what's the big picture difference? How do we sort of separate these two ideas?
Well, IPM traditionally was more about managing risk, wasn't it? You'd wait until you actually saw pests or disease pop up. Then you'd identify it and figure out the least nasty chemical you could use to knock it back. It was fundamentally a reaction. You reacted to a threat that was already there.
Okay, right. And these sources, they're saying IPP just throws the whole starting point out the window.
Precisely. IPP, at least as it's defined in these materials, it sets a much, much higher bar. It's described as being proactive. Sanitation comes first, always. And it uses these advanced non-toxic technologies to create an environment where the bad stuff, the pathogens, spores, bacteria, they just can't really get a foothold to begin with. The goal isn't just managing damage. It's aiming for, zero tolerance.
Okay, let's really unpack that core difference then, because that's where things must change dramatically on the ground for a grower. If IPM was about finding the best chemical reaction, what makes this IPP philosophy fundamentally different in practice?
It's the commitment, really. It's a full cycle thing. The old way often treated sanitation as cleanup between cycles. Then you'd maybe treat the plants during the cycle if needed. IPP, though, it demands that the entire place, the facility, the water, the plants themselves, they all have to be actively, continuously maintained. And using these non-toxic agents, you basically stop focusing on treating problems and start focusing on maintaining, perfection, essentially.
And the specific solution that kept coming up in the sources, the one enabling this, is the Grower's Choice Plant Guard 420 formula. That seems pretty central to their IPP definition.
It does seem central, yeah. Because of its chemistry, apparently, it allows it to do several jobs at once. It's not just sprayed on plants. It's used everywhere. Cleaning surfaces, sanitizing water systems, maintaining the health of the leaves. It's that integration, that efficiency that makes this IPP standard seem, actually achievable, especially for bigger operations.
All right, let's dive into that zero tolerance idea then. Principle one in the sources, the foundation. If IPP really rests on just absolute cleanliness, where does this non-toxic solution start building that clean slate?
It has to start with the room itself, right? Long before any plants even get near it. The protocol laid out, it starts with what they call a mandatory environmental purge. And that means using this solution to basically scrub down everything. All the hard surfaces, benches, floors, walls, even things like HVAC units. And crucially, not just once before you start, but really diligently between every single grow cycle.
I can almost hear some growers thinking, hang on, I use bleach between cycles. Isn't that enough?
Well, bleach is a strong sterilizer, no doubt. But it can be corrosive, right? And it leaves residues or fumes you need to vent out properly. This non-toxic agent they describe, it's designed specifically to target organic stuff, spores, biofilms, but without leaving that persistent chemical footprint. That's key for keeping the environment controlled. Because if you miss just one little spot, maybe a corner or a crack, and some mildew spores survive, you're starting the next cycle already behind the curve.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Now let's pivot to something really critical, especially for hydroponics or big indoor setups. The water. The sources really highlighted this. Why is flushing the water system such a big deal in IPP?
Yeah. This is where a lot of hidden problems start. Any system with standing water, your irrigation lines, nutrient tanks, hydro setups, it can become a breeding ground for really nasty root pathogens. The sources are clear. This IPP solution must be used to regularly flush that entire water infrastructure.
And what exactly are we trying to stop by doing that?
Primarily, it's biofilm, that slimy layer that builds up inside pipes and tanks, and algae, of course. But critically, it's those root killers, Pythium and Fusarium, root rot. Anyone who's lost plants to root rot knows how devastating it is. They absolutely thrive in that biofilm. So by using this formula to dissolve and flush out the biofilm, you're essentially taking away their home. You ensure the water feeding the roots is truly clean.
It's like cleaning the arteries of the operation. And speaking of spreading things, once you're up and running, people become a major vector, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. That leads straight to the tool and personnel protocol mentioned. It's so easy to spread problems without realizing it. A grower snips one dodgy-looking leaf, then uses the same clippers on a healthy plant right across the room. Boom! Contamination spread. So the protocol demands that all tools, trimmers, gloves, anything handling plants get sanitized with this IPP solution immediately after you use them, every single time. It's that constant, maybe slightly tedious discipline that prevents a small issue from blowing up into a full-blown facility disaster.
Okay, so we've cleaned the room, cleaned the water, cleaned the tools. Let's move to principle 2, proactive plant protection. How does this system keep the plants themselves healthy through the growing cycle, but without leaving stuff behind?
The protection starts right away, basically. During propagation and the veg stage, the sources say the formula is used as a regular preventative spray on the leaves. The idea isn't to wait until you see a speck of powdery mildew. It's to create a surface environment where fungal spores just can't easily germinate from the get-go. This lets the young plants put all their energy into growing strong, not fighting off infections.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here. Spraying plants all the time, even with something non-toxic, sounds like a lot of work. And growers are kind of conditioned, aren't they? Decades of thinking.
Yeah.
Big problem equals strong chemicals. What if this proactive stuff isn't enough? What if, say, bad mold takes hold late in flower?
That's a really important point, and it highlights what the sources suggest is maybe the genius of this specific formula's chemistry. See, the huge risk with old-school IPM is exactly that scenario. An infection flares up during flowering when the crop is most valuable. But you can't spray persistent chemicals then because you'll fail your lab tests for residue. You're stuck choosing between losing crop or failing compliance.
So the safety of spraying during that crucial flowering stage is the real game changer here.
Absolutely. The science bit that's fascinating, according to these sources, is how this IPP formula breaks down. It decomposes completely, apparently almost instantly, into just two things: water and oxygen, benign stuff. Which means there's literally nothing left behind to show up on a lab test. No persistent residue.
Wow, okay. That benefit alone for quality control, for just financial peace of mind, must be huge.
It really seems to tackle that economic risk head on. Because it breaks down so cleanly, growers can keep protecting the plants continuously. They can spray flowers right up to the day they harvest without worrying about chemical residues or weird smells or affecting the final taste. That means you can protect your investment during that most critical, most valuable phase.
Right. So after all that careful, non-toxic protection throughout the cycle, what's the very last step before things head off to dry?
The final step described is the harvest wash. They actually use the solution again as a powerful final rinse for the harvested plants. This isn't just like rinsing with plain water. It's designed to actively lift off any tiny contaminants that might have just settled on the surfaces during growth. Things like, ambient dust, maybe some stray airborne mold spores, tiny particles from the grow environment. It just ensures the product goes into the drying and curing process as absolutely clean as possible, which helps minimize any risk of spoilage after harvest, too.
Okay. This brings us to the real payoff, doesn't it? The practical advantages. And the sources provided this interesting breakdown comparing how this system works differently in, say, a sterile indoor grower versus the more unpredictable outdoor environment.
Yeah, the benefits kind of adapt to the setting. Let's start with purity and compliance. That seems to be the bedrock of this whole IPP idea.
So for the indoor grower, what's the clear win?
Indoors, it's got to be that guaranteed zero residue. For commercial operations facing really strict lab tests, that's just non-negotiable. Fail testing, you lose the product. But for an outdoor grower, maybe dealing with larger areas and the elements, the key benefit shifts slightly. It becomes environmental safety. Because the stuff breaks down into water and oxygen, there's no worry about toxic chemicals running off into the soil or nearby streams. It helps meet ecological regulations.
That's a really clear distinction. Okay, what about protecting the actual crop value, the financial side?
Right. Indoors, the big value is being able to spray late in flower. That translates directly to crop security. Knowing you can fight off late-stage bud rot, which can wipe out yield without ruining the quality or failing tests, that's huge peace of mind. Outdoors, growers battle volatility, don't they? Sudden rain, humidity spikes, wind blowing spores around. So for them, the IPP approach offers full protection regardless of those unpredictable weather shifts. It helps ensure they actually hit their harvest targets despite nature throwing curveballs.
And does plant health itself look different between the two? I mean, how the system promotes health?
It does, yeah, based on the environment. Indoors, in those clean, contained setups, especially hydro, the focus naturally leans towards root zone health. Flushing those systems, as we discussed, gets rid of biofilm and root rot nasties that love water culture. Outdoors, though, the main battle is often fought on the leaves and flowers, so the main benefit becomes enhanced foliar health. The plant isn't constantly wasting energy trying to fend off mildews and molds during damp periods. It can focus that energy on growth.
Makes sense. And finally, what about efficiency, time savings, simplifying things?
For the indoor grower, the efficiency seems to come from having a single solution. Instead of juggling different chemicals for water, tools, and foliar sprays, one formula covers the whole sanitation and protection program. That simplifies training, inventory, everything. Reduces chances for error, too. Outdoors, efficiency often means speed of response, immediate cure capability. When bad weather hits and you suddenly see downy mildew or botrytis starting, you need something that works fast and doesn't require a long waiting period before harvest like many traditional chemicals do. This formula offers that quick, non-toxic reaction.
Looking at all that data side by side from the sources, it really paints IPP not just as a substitute for IPM, but as, well, a significant step up. A whole new standard for cleanliness, safety, and ensuring product quality, whether you're growing indoors or out.
Yeah, if you tie it all together, this grower's choice IPP model, as presented, acts like a comprehensive system. It's about managing risk, sure, but at a much higher level. It seems designed to let commercial growers consistently meet that modern demand for clean, high-quality, zero-residue products. It really aims to guarantee safety and purity all the way from the roots to the final product you hold in your hand.
So to quickly recap the key takeaway here for everyone listening, IPP isn't just IPM with a new name. It's a systematic shift. Prevention isn't optional. It's the foundation. A mandatory, full-cycle standard built on non-toxic sanitation and having that immediate non-residue cure available.
Which, leaves us with a pretty interesting question to ponder. If this kind of advanced zero-residue sanitation tech lets high-value crop producers guarantee safety right up to the moment of harvest, what could that mean down the road for consumer safety expectations, maybe even regulations, across all agriculture? For everything from specialty crops to the everyday fruits and vegetables we buy. Definitely something to mull over until our next deep dive.